morning, Delray Beach Community Forum. We are excited to have you all here today. This is our fifth installment of Interview with Delray Beach City Commission candidates, and we are proud this morning to bring you Chris Davey. Chris Davey is running for seat 4 for the Delray Beach Commission being held on March 17th. And as always, today Chris will be answering questions that were submitted from you, our members, as well as giving an opening and closing statement about his election, how he feels about Delray Beach, his reasons for running, and all that fun stuff. And it's just a great way for all of us to connect with Chris and find out why he's here and why he feels that he is the best candidate for seat 4. So without further ado, let's introduce Chris. Chris, thank you for coming out this morning here
Greg,
at Gizzy's Coffee.
Greg, thank you so much, and thanks, Sean, for doing this. I'm running for the City Commission because of my experience here within the town. I've been vice chair of the Planning and Zoning Board and served on that board for a number of years. I'm currently chairman of the Board of Adjustment. I've also been active in historic preservation. I was a member of the Rising Tides Task Force here in Delray Beach and made a presentation to them about resiliency and how we have to really be cognizant of the issues that are going to be affecting our city regarding sea level rise. I was also a homeowners association president here in East Delray Beach for 5 years at Mallory Square in the heart of our downtown. All I want to do is come out there and serve the citizens of this city and address the issues that our city is currently facing. I believe in the mantra that it's our duty to leave things better than we found it. And I think that that's one of the reasons why the Sierra Club, and I was the only candidate endorsed by the Sierra Club out of 7 candidates running for office this year. Anyway, look forward to answering Greg's questions and interacting with you. And thank you so much.
Awesome. So we have 4 questions. The 4 questions that were submitted from our members. One has to do with education in our youth. 2 of them are economic development questions.
Okay.
And the last question has to do with safety and crime in Delray Beach.
Sure.
So the first question that was submitted to us from our members, what specific ideas do you have? What actions would you take to create more opportunity for students here in Delray Beach?
Greg, education is an issue that is near and dear to my heart. And let me give you some background as to why it is. When I was growing up, my father was a school teacher for 33 years. Unfortunately, toward the end of his career, he wound up getting injured due to a student kicking him in the head and lost the sight in one eye. Okay, but that did not change my family's love of education in any way, shape, or form. When I was going through grammar school, my mother was always active on the school board, and she was either a member, vice president, or president for many, many years. In fact, when I was in high school, my senior year, I got out of high school at 11 o'clock in the morning, and my parents were like, no, you're not coming home to sit around the house. You're going to a local state college and start taking college classes. So I know that a great education and a well-rounded education are really the keys to the future here in America. As Delray Beach City Commissioners, we do not have that much influence on the school board or their funding. The school board is very different than where I grew up in New Jersey, where there was 567 individual school boards as each municipality controlled their schools. Here in Florida, everything is controlled by the county, and our county school board members are elected from districts within Palm Beach County. Biggest thing we can do is use the bully pulpit of our office and provide exciting and interesting aftercare programs for the students. We have so many people in this city who are retired, who are looking for volunteer activities. Maybe that's going to be providing a place to teach children after school computer coding as they get older. Maybe in the younger grades, it's going to be providing an area after school where they can learn a second or a third language, okay? But the greatest gift that we can give our children is a broad and deep education. And we have to do what we can as city commissioners to provide that for the children.
Excellent. Appreciate that. So the next two questions are going to be all about economic development.
Mm-hmm.
So the second question that was submitted to us was, now that Vid Nolan, Joan Goodrich, and Elizabeth Burrows have left, the Office of Economic Development is without a director and staff. The city right now is approximately 69,000 residents. Our budget is nearing or north of 140 million. One could argue that no one is steering the economic ship that is Delray. What are your thoughts on the need for leadership in the area of economic development, and what would you do to facilitate the process of filling these positions, these much needed positions?
That's a great question. As some people are probably aware, maybe not everybody, the past 8 or 10 years in the city of Delray Beach, as Greg knows, we've gone through a very tumultuous time. We've had 9 or 10 city managers or interim city managers during that period. So there's been no great level of continuity. Because of this turnover at the top, a lot of our city staff at the director level has left and turned over. So we've lost that institutional knowledge here within the city. For decades, the city of Delray Beach did a wonderful job bringing businesses and helping the downtown grow, especially east of Swinton Avenue. Okay, but now we've hit a different phase in our development. To tell you the truth, the city has dropped the ball and the CRA has dropped the ball on West Atlantic. Our CRA has been active for 35 years within the city, and yet the largest tract of land east of Swinton on the south side of West Atlantic still remains undeveloped, okay? And we're now on our second or third developer, and the developer has already been placed 10 months after they were awarded the project, placed in default, which my understanding is they've now cured the default in the next 2 or 3 days. However, we need to focus on economic development in our city, no longer east of Swinton. We need to focus on west of Swinton and the Congress corridor, because these are going to be the next areas that are going to be critical to the city's growth going forward.
Excellent. So we're going to stay with economic development, and we're definitely going to get a little bit more granular on this answer. So on the subject of economic development, what specific ideas do you have? What actions would you take to spur economic growth, but not just economic growth, economic diversity?
What we have to do, when we look at the model that Delray Beach has used over the past 10 or 15 years, was incentivizing large developers, okay, and then allowing them to build projects and fill them in. Part of the problem that the city is facing now is we're now becoming a victim of our success. When you look at the downtown core of our city, the rents have gone so high that it's very difficult for the mom and pop stores to actually go out there and start up. I had a friend of mine tell me 4 years ago, who's a large property owner up in the Washington, D.C. area, that the rents we're charging on Atlantic Avenue, east of Swinton, are actually more than Fifth Avenue and more than in the beautiful areas of Washington, D.C. and Georgetown. On restaurants downtown, we're over $120 per square foot on a triple net basis. So to put that in perspective, for a 2,000 square foot restaurant on Atlantic Avenue, you're looking at a rent cost of in excess of $20,000 per month. Okay? That's before utilities. So really what we have to do, like on the West Atlantic project, I think the city made a mistake on the West Atlantic project. The greatest desire of the neighborhood, of the northwest, southwest neighborhoods, was a grocer, okay? And 5 years ago, there was a deal with Publix to bring a grocer to West Atlantic. But they said they weren't going to be ready to build till 2021 or 2022. And the city felt that was too long to wait. Well, now all of a sudden...
Well, it's 2020, 2021.
Exactly. That really seems like a stone's throw around the corner. And still, we have no plan. We have a developer who's keeping it secret as to who they're going to bring as a grocer. That's a very difficult industry. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but Lucky's has gone out of business, and that's a very low margin business that has a lot of consolidation going on within that industry right now.
Just went bankrupt last week, and actually historically they run a 2% margin, so it's a
Right.
very tough business.
Right. And what happens is when you look at the model that Publix is doing, whether it's West Atlantic, whether it was Boynton Beach, Gregg, I'm sure you're going to recognize this. They're getting rid of the 30,000 square foot stores and now moving to the 55, 60,000 square foot stores, which carry a lot more food, are a lot wider. There's a lot less, they're able to handle their overhead costs a lot better. So the last thing I just want to say is that I think what should have happened on West Atlantic is we should have just gone to Publix and said, how much land are you going to need for a grocery store? And then potentially gone out after that and found a developer. And maybe the CRA even kept the land and said, we're going to find a builder to build flex space on the remainder of the property, or incubator space, or small business space that could have been leased by local, homegrown businesses who are finding it exceedingly tough to find space to do business in this rental environment.
Awesome. So the last question's, I don't want to say it's a contentious question, but it's interesting. I've attended 3 of the 5 debates or forums, and this subject has not really come up all too often, but it's something that obviously it's been near and dear to a lot of people who live in Delray, but not just who live in Delray, who work and play in Delray.
Right.
And that's crime and safety. So the question that was submitted is Neighborhood Scout. They're a service that tracks crime both on a regional and a national basis. They recently gave Delray Beach a 7% safety rating out of a possible 100%. They found that Delray Beach has 42.6 crimes per 1,000 residents, and of that, 5.9 violent crimes per 1,000 residents. So Chris, to you, how important is resident visitor safety, and what are some of your ideas for improving safety in Delray Beach?
That is an unbelievable question because, like many tourist communities, Gregg, we want to keep the level of crime within this town a bit of a secret, okay? And our crime rate, when you look at the statistics, have gone up from a very low level over the past few years. Now, most of this crime is what we call minor and petty crime, but it's still extremely corrosive to the fabric of the community. When I look at our city, and I've had numerous friends have bikes stolen from the beach, have cars broken into, laptops taken, have boats broken into in the Marina District, have people pull up in front of their house, run into their garage, grab items, and take off. That is extremely worrisome to me. And really, when you look at our city budget, approximately 60% of the city budget goes toward public safety. That's police and fire. But the big thing I notice as I go around town is that at one time we had officers on foot patrol throughout this city. And it seems to me that we don't anymore, okay? And maybe we need to bring back officers on foot patrol because like in New York City, when you get the police out of their cars and they're pressing the flesh and they're talking to people on the beat, they're more in tune as to what's going on, who's doing something good, who's doing something bad. And it's these minor crimes that are very, very hard to cure, but there's ways to discourage that crime. And one of the ways to discourage it is police visibility. If somebody sees a police officer out of the car or on a bicycle in a neighborhood, they're like, whoa, am I going to do something right now? No, of course they're not. Now, as far as the violent crime goes, that's been an issue that a lot of that is domestic violence here in the town. A lot of it's associated with substance abuse here in our town, okay? Our sober community has actually reduced, and the issues associated with that have markedly come down due to the change on the national level with the opioid drugs and the reduction of the distribution of those drugs. But at the same point in time, our downtown is becoming a tale of two cities. You're aware of that. There's people who are my age and your age who are going there between 6 p.m. and 9:30 or 10 p.m. at night. And then there's a younger crowd that's coming in at 10 p.m. at night, and they're coming down here and partying.
Trying to say we're too old to hang with the kids now?
Let's just say, Greg, let's just say that
I hear you.
that there was a time I closed bars in Hoboken, New Jersey, but that's a long time ago.
I'm in bed by 10.
Exactly, the same thing. I'm in bed by 10 or 11.
I love it.
And what's happening is that these younger kids downtown, that's an issue that we really have to get a hold of, because we can't allow a tragedy to happen in our downtown, and we have to ensure these businesses behave responsibly.
So that's actually a very good comprehensive idea of your thoughts on that. So we're at the end of the 4 questions, and this is the exciting part. This is where you get to pitch. You know, it's almost like Shark Tank pitch.
Right.
Your vision, your thoughts, whatever it is that you want. The thousands of people that are viewing this, residents and people that live, work, and play in Delray. What should they know about Chris Davey? Why should they elect Chris Davey for seat 4 for commission?
Right. Well, I can tell you that I intend to bring fresh ideas and a new vision to the commission. I think we really need it. Two years ago, the City Commission took over the CRA, and I happen to think that was a great idea, if only for the fact of that any entity within our city that's spending $20 million a year should be accountable to the voters. I think we need to leverage the CRA money, and I think we need to leverage the city's money and start improving our infrastructure. One of the big premises of my campaign is that while we have a city budget that's spending approximately $140 million per year, we have, as of last year, a $378 million infrastructure need. Now, that's almost $400 million, and if you think about it, that's about 3 times the annual budget of the city. The only way, Greg, that we're going to start attacking that is to start bonding and doing it now. Previous commissions and the CRA have kicked the can down the road, but in my opinion, as we've learned from Fort Lauderdale in the past few months in the news, the hidden infrastructure of the city, whether it's storm drainage, whether it's water pipes, whether it's sewer pipes, can create a huge black eye for the city, and it's something we need to address. Right now, City of Delray Beach, due to our AAA rating and the fact that we owe almost no money, can borrow money under 3%. Okay? That's literally a little bit above the rate of inflation. In fact, contractors who I know have told me that the cost of doing nothing is going up faster than 3%, so there's no excuse for us to start doing this work and addressing our infrastructure needs.
That's a very valid point. Earlier this week, 30-year rates and 10-year rates on the treasuries hit the lowest level since the 1960s. Money for loans, including bonds, has never been this cheap for municipalities that have high credit ratings.
Yep.
So, and true, the cost of waiting absolutely increases the future cost.
Right.
So I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, I was reading Bloomberg last night. The 10-year bond hit 1.12% the other day. I mean, that's insane. Who would invest in a 10-year bond at 1% and tie up their money?
It's very beneficial for municipalities that need to borrow.
Absolutely, or homeowners that are looking to buy.
Exactly.
Okay, so that should be having a very stimulative effect, and it should be coming forward to do this. Now, the one thing I will say, Greg, I'm very glad to get behind our new city manager who started January 6th, George Gretzis. It's my understanding that shortly after the election, he's going to be coming forward with a proposal to the city to do a bond issue of about $100 million. Okay? I think that's very exciting, but where I am kind of worried about that is that the nitty-gritty of this current commission, okay, this will get bogged down over petty squabbling over where the money is going to be spent. And unfortunately, the city just needs to look at things with a rational eye and not get tied up in political issues and literally look at where the needs need to go.
And this is where you feel you'll add value if elected.
Yes, that's what I'm planning on doing. I look at the areas of our city that have been neglected, okay, and those should be first in line. They've been on the bottom of the list for the last 25 years, and in all reality, it's really time for those areas to come to the top of the list, because that's where we can get the most bang for the buck and economically develop our city so that all boats are rising with a rising tide.
Well, Chris, we really appreciate you coming out on a Saturday morning. We know you've got a lot of work out there campaigning, so taking the half hour to spend with us has really been appreciated. Our members appreciate it, and good luck on the race.
Greg, thank you so much. Thank you, Sean. Wonderful morning.